It's such a joy to see all of you here again to learn about empathy and spread our mission to spread empathy to every corner of the world. And today I'm really curious, we all are really curious to know how your last week went after the first session. We have 30 seconds for a check-in, and we'd love to know how your Empathy Buddy call went if you had one. And if you did at Empathy Circle, we'd love to know your experiences with that. And if none of that happened, just what were your experiences with empathy? And because we are running short, we have a certain structure. So if you could take just 30 seconds to do that. So I'll call on you, and then you can go. So let me call on
just before
Rita
you go
first.
ahead, Priyanka. Yeah, sorry, just before you go ahead, I just wanted to announce that we're recording for educational purposes, as you all know. Yeah, so I just wanted to let you folks know. If you didn't want to be recorded, feel free to turn your video off in the main session. And in the breakout room, it will just be the breakout room that Edwin is in that's recorded. So, okay. Yeah, my
Thanks for adding that, Rita. Very important.
Right. No worries. Yeah, my check-in. I didn't do an Empathy Buddy call this week, but I have quite a regular one that happens with various friends at different times. And yeah, it's always surprisingly nourishing, I think. Sometimes my brain doubts that anything will shift, and then just, you know, giving myself a bit of space to be heard and to kind of like sift through my emotional process often helps me feel very touched. I did actually do I'm training some facilitators in person, because I'm going to run some empathy cafes over 9 months. I'm doing like a deep adaptation series here in Melbourne. So yeah, that was also very touching last night. That's me. I'll pass it on to Sally.
I think Priyanka was going to do the choosing of people.
No worries.
Oh. Yeah, Sally, you can go ahead.
Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, so I met with my and we made some headway, and he's a very good instructor too, and well, it was helpful for me, and I feel a little more confident. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Leona?
I practiced empathy with my husband this week. We've started in the last few months doing 5 minutes of empathy just with each other most mornings of the week before work. And that's been really amazing, sticking with the model, no cross-talking. And it's just been really a delight to just have 5 minutes to be heard, and vice versa. Thank you.
Thank you, Leona. Faustina?
Hello. Yeah, I was able to have my empathy buddy call, and it was inspiring to hear how Anu was my buddy, how she actually practiced empathy. It was a very beautiful call, I would say. And I also managed to kind of try having empathy exercise with my friend, and it was kind of contrasting because it was a bit more casual. It wasn't an arranged call, but it was a surprisingly positive experience, and I'm excited for today's call. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Faustina. Maria?
We sort of made multiple attempts to try to connect with my buddy, and it didn't quite work out. I think maybe the time difference makes it challenging as well. still hoping that maybe this week I'll be able to connect with someone. But as far as doing my own empathy circle, I did one with my boyfriend and son, and it was an pretty amazing positive feedback. So they actually want to continue doing it on a weekly basis. My 16-year-old son is totally into it, so that's completely exciting.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Maria. That was
Thank
really
you.
good news. And we can look into seeing if we can put you together with someone in the same time zone as you. It will make a note of that. Thanks, Maria. Jaya?
So I had my empathy buddy call with Kang of Vietnam, and both of us, oh, there she is connecting, and both of us has a great time connecting, and we kept to time and we listened to each other, and that was a fantastic thing that happened last week on Tuesday. And the other thing that I did was I work with nurses in the hospital setting, so I got them to listen to each other, and and then so many difficulties with listening came up, so we worked around that. So that was something that I mean, that was a beautiful experience. Yes, thank you.
That does sound like a very nice experience. Thank you for sharing, Jaya. Anu?
Yeah, thanks, Priyanka. And good morning, everyone. I really enjoyed my empathy buddy call with Faustina. Also, like she says, it was inspirational for me also. She had an internet outage, yet she made every effort, and we kind of coordinated, rescheduled, and we could do it. And what a beautiful experience it was. So I'm glad that we could manage to do that. I also facilitated a group of college students. We were doing a program, and it's a campus to corporate transition program. So we were covering something on listening. So I thought that, okay, let me do an empathy circle. So it was a group of 16 students. And my learning is that, and I was sharing this with Faustina also, my learning is that you do need, like Leona said the last time, a web or a network of co-facilitators, because you put them in the breakout room. I'm quite well versed with breakout rooms, managing them, broadcast message, everything. So I kind of thought through it, yet in one of the rooms, I saw some students, out of their enthusiasm, they were asking a lot of questions to each other. So I didn't find it suitable to correct them or course correct there. I just allowed the conversations to happen. But I also learned that, this urge to be curious and to ask or to advise or to judge or to all that we were discussing is so inherent, and it comes out. So that's my learning from facilitating. And yes, empathy was on my mind all week last week, and I have tried doing it with my son also, and it was a refreshing change. He was looking at me that, okay, she's all ears. No word said. So I guess it worked on all three parameters, the one that you have mentioned on the chat. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you for sharing that experience with us. And I think in the future, we are planning a facilitator training for how to run empathy cafes for such a big audience, if I'm not wrong, Edwin. So I think that would be something you can look forward to. Thank you so much for sharing, Anu. Rasha?
Yeah. So I had an amazing empathy buddy call with Priyanka. And we found out that we were eerily similar in a lot of ways. In fact, not just characteristics, but the life journey that we have had, including the difficulties that you've faced. So it was kind of like very, very nice to know someone so exists who has such a similar experience as yours. I was a part of cohort 9 as well. So I did have an empathy circles. This was 2 days back, and I also facilitated my own circle as part of a training program. So yeah, so that was my week. Thank you. Looking forward to this week.
Thank you, Rasha. Larry?
Hi, everybody. I was fortunate to have 2 empathy buddy calls this last week with my wonderful buddy Sally, and we encouraged each other to, share empathically and reflect, and gave each other plenty of space, plenty of time, and we used a 5-minute timer to go back and forth, and then we also practiced each of us rehearsing the the presentation for tonight of how to empathy circle, and shared Edwin's YouTube on that. So, and also did an empathy circle with a friend who is very familiar for many years with NVC, and obviously not to mention any names, but my impression was that they didn't they thought there would be more to the empathy circle than simply reflecting back. They wanted to go into the needs and the 4 steps, the observations, needs, feelings, and getting into that. And I said, well, right now we're just basically reflecting back to each other accurately without changing or modifying, or like Carl Rogers says, to walk in my friend's shoes and see, is this what it's like for you? So yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. That was interesting to know that even when you're with 2 people, you can make it so structured with the timing. So that's maybe something for us to also think about. Thank you for sharing that. Jen?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I had a really good buddy call with Mona this week. And yeah, it was so nice. We really had very similar thought process around all of this and what we're experiencing right now. So that was nice to share that with her. I remember one of the significant learnings was that we were both getting that in the listening, it was helping us with the speaking and the expressing. Like just being able to listen more skillfully was helping us to speak. That's one of the things that I remember about our call. And I just felt really nourished by it. I felt really, just seen and heard, and that always feels really good. I did also facilitate a circle. I've actually facilitated a couple of them, and I didn't mention that last week on our call. One of the questions that I'm starting to have around this, and it points to what Larry was talking about, with the active listener, when somebody is reflecting what they've heard, are they paraphrasing and using different words? Because I've seen people do different things. Some people use the same words and basically say back what they've heard. And then other people will say the essence or kind of paraphrase and state what they hear are the needs of the person. So I'm just kind of wondering about that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jen. I don't know if Edwin would like to jump in and comment on that about sharing.
Leona will be giving feedback in a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Mona.
Hi everybody. I was having my buddy Jen. It was very good experience. I have a hard week this week, and I was waiting for her call like for all the week to have like an empathy circle, and it really helped my anxiety and helped me to look for like a good point. Even if we didn't speak about what it's really happening with me or what make me sad for this week, but to reflect on what Empathy Circle has been doing for us and what we are gaining from it, it really helped me it helped me every time to relax with my anxiety, just to be safe and fully heard and share another human being his experience and his life. And it's always very good to have an empathy circle. And we was having like a lot of same reflected about the empathy circle and same empowering we gained from it, and it was very good experience.
Thank you, Mona. Mainak?
Hi, sorry, I wasn't able to connect with my buddy this time, and I'm wondering if she has dropped out because I don't see her here today. So, lost opportunity.
You can also share your experiences just with what you carry forward from last week, your experiences with empathy just in general.
So it's like I've been spending time self-reflecting, like maybe being a better friend to myself, trying to understand my own thought processes, because and being my own buddy especially. So that's where, and I think so. I think the one basic topic that I was thinking about, like redemption as a process. So that's been on my mind.
Thank you, Mainak. Kang?
Yes. Everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
As Jaya said, we had a really good buddy call. I had an empathy circle with my little cousins and my sister this week, which I had a bit of difficulty because of the different levels. The youngest is age 12. Yeah. So it's hard for her to paraphrase or repeat the words of the other person, and it's a real struggle for her. So I would like to have some support in that. Like, so what do we do when perhaps the topic or the content is a bit difficult for kids, for example. But I was very glad that the rest of us was very patient with her, that we waited for quite some time for her to find the words to summarize. I also had a field circle this week in a corporate context. Like we had this training, and I found that I struggle to find the right words to say. You know, for me, if it's just paraphrasing, sometimes the paraphrase is too long. That's one problem, and the other problem is that it's hard for me to find the word to say what is important for that person myself. That's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've never worked with kids, but maybe someone else will be able to help you out with how to make it work with kids. So we'll look into that. Thank you so much for that. Payal?
Yeah, so I did my empathy circle conversation with Kesha yesterday, and it was very helpful. Instead, while doing the conversation, what occurred to me is between me and my colleagues, which also includes Kesha, is that we could actually do a Monday empathy booth, just our way of checking into the group, and the need that we felt was just a space to have somebody listen to us. And that is where the thought came from, that if we just had that space to share the loneliness, just one moment. Yeah, the loneliness, the need for that space, etc., will not really feel, one may not feel that, I need to go out and ask. We've created that. So the thought of the empathy booth came in. And I was just wondering that maybe first it starts with the three of us, and Jaya is also a part of it. And then, it grows, and whoever wishes to join in can just join in every week once on a Monday morning, something like this. I do have a question, which is around using the empathy circles, and not as a circle, but on a one-on-one during high intense moments. How does one use it, etc., and make it more relatable. Yeah, that's where I am.
Thank you for that. We've taken note of your question, so we'll get back to you on that. I think only Keisha and Edwin is left. So Keisha.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. So like Payal said, I had my buddy call with Payal. And for me, the experience was really good. In fact, I felt, for the first time, I felt I experienced being heard. Because most of my time I am a listener to my family members, my husband, and it was different to be heard. I felt where I could share my things and have a person just hear me. So it was a really good experience, and also I could actually practice empathy. So I was not able to do it with any of my friends or so, but with the small short call that I have with my brother, I tried and helped him to see how to be patient with listening to others and all. So yeah, this buddy call was really helpful for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Keisha. And last but not the least, Edwin.
Just quickly, been working on setting up 4 of these cohorts. So that's pretty much most of the time, just a lot of organizing, and that's about it. So I'll keep it very short.
So we're done with the check-ins.
Yeah, thank you, Priyanka. I'll take over to do some feedback if you like. So thank you for those of you who wrote in some feedback. It's always helpful to read read what people have written, but also I think sometimes in the writing you get some clarity about what's important to you and what your learning edges are. So what people found really valuable was the level of support that a circle provides, and noticing different facilitation styles. Because as you do more and more circles, you'll see more and more ways people facilitate and participate. And that can be quite exciting and reassuring, as in there's no one way. You find your way. And being present in your way tends to be the best way. People can resonate with that. Lot of words like sincere, authentic, genuine communication. And that brings me to what Jen was talking about, which was, how do we paraphrase, or do we reflect in a more nonviolent communication way, which is, feelings and needs? Do we just capture the essence of it? And the answer to that is it will vary from person to person. So if you feel paraphrasing is what you can do, that's what you do. One thing I would say is be really aware that you don't move too far from people's words, the words they have used, because they have chosen those words because they're meaningful to them. So the one disadvantage of paraphrasing is if you really rewrite what they have said, it can come back as not quite what they meant. Whereas if you use the words that seem really important, hold a lot of emotional truth in them, and you say those exact words back, people feel deeply heard because they've come from their system and they're now hearing them back. So I would say that. So you'll get a bit of a mix of them all. So just sense for what you feel you can do and what the person responds to best. One other thing that came up was the need for a small debrief in the breakout rooms. So we will certainly be doing that this week. And another part was, which also came up, was working with empathic listening with friends or family. And the topics can be more personal and intense. And so really developing that set structure can help people with that. So saying, I'm going to speak for 5 minutes, and for sure you're going to want to answer something about how you feel about that, or what it was like for you, but if you can just reflect back in your 5 minutes, you can speak for your experience. And really, just as we are quite strict around the structure in the circle, also being strict, the sticking with the structure provides a lot of safety, and people learn to tolerate wanting to say something and not. They learn they can do that, and listen. So you're also developing or flexing listening muscles. So just wanted to say that. Definitely something that's come up and we will address in next session and the session after is when people say things that are deeply challenging or feel painful or hurtful. Or they respond in ways that don't feel supportive. So after this session, we'll have 2 weeks of building skills in dealing with the challenges that can come with groups where you don't know everybody, and people feel very differently and very strongly about things. And one last thing is the mind wandering. As the passive listener, it can be tempting for the mind to wander. And all you can do is come back when you notice, oh, yeah, my mind drifted to doing the groceries, or I must remember this for work. Just make a note of it and come back. It's as simple as that. So I hope that kind of helps answer some of the questions that were asked today. And, just to give you a sense of the feedback that's coming through. In your breakout room today, if there are any questions that weren't answered, you'll have time to have a little bit of a debrief and talk about them more. So talking about breakout rooms, actually one thing I do want to say is I'm really aware we're using English. And when you do your empathy circles, you may be using the first language of the people in the circle. And you may find that it's easier for the listening and reflecting when you're not translating. In an international circle, it's the English speakers who get the easiest time of it, and everybody else is having to translate and, work out what does that word mean. So just really being conscious of that. And if that comes up for you in a circle, you can say, I think I heard you say, but I'm not sure about this word. What does it mean for you? And that's really okay to do when you're trying to translate. So I just wanted to give you permission to ask, what does that mean? What did you mean? And people will clarify. So in a moment, we'll go into our breakout rooms, and you're going to have fun playing with how to do a circle speech as it is. I want to just say, if it's your first circle, be kind to yourself and play around with it. Everybody does it differently, and you'll find that. And then you'll facilitate a short 20-minute circle. So you'll describe how to do an empathy circle. You'll facilitate the circle. And that means, if you can, you'll do the timing. When we get in there, we'll just talk about the timings for you. And after 20 minutes, we'll stop, and you'll have a chance to get some feedback from, the room you're in. So it's really, really helpful to do this today. So we'll be doing that, and the topic which we'll put into the chat for you and we'll go through to the breakout rooms is, what are your thoughts and concerns about being an empathy circle facilitator? And as always, or whatever is alive for you. So we'll go into the circle. One person will do the how-to, they'll practice running the circle, they'll get some feedback, and then we'll go to the next person and we'll keep going, and at the end we'll do a giant debrief. Any questions, concerns, queries? Everybody feel ready to go? Okay, I'm going to hand to Edwin, who will...
I think, sorry, did you have a question? You look like you
So
were...
we each would introduce the steps, all the people would introduce the steps. Or is it just one person who is facilitating? So do everyone in the circle introduce the steps?
Yep. Everybody will have a turn.
Yeah, each person will introduce it, lead an empathy circle, get feedback, and then the next person introduce, do the circle, get feedback, and you'll go around. And we have an hour and a half for that. And we have 4 groups. And one, Rita's group, will stay here in the main room, and I'll be here with you. And there's an equal amount in all the groups. So everything added up perfectly. So see you in the groups. Here we go. And then the topic is in the chat too. And then you just need to decide, you want 3 or 4 minute turns.
Edwin, the chat hasn't yet showed up.
Oh.
Oh, you posted it to the waiting room.
I posted it to the waiting room. Darn it. I've been posting all this great stuff and it all goes into the waiting room. Sorry about that. Let's see.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm going to broadcast it. Broadcast. There we go. And hey, Al, are you? Oh, there she goes. Yeah. Okay. And there's one more person going. Jaya is
going to go to another group.
Yeah, should be going to room 2 with Leona. I'm not sure why she hasn't moved, but maybe she'll.
Distracted. Okay, that's all right. So it's the 3 of us: Sally, Maria, Mainak, and Edwin. Cool. Well, does anyone have any questions, first of all, about what we're doing and what the process will be at the moment? Is it all clear as mud? Okay, I'll take your silence as you all get it. Yeah, so does anyone want to go first? I'll time the 20-minute whole round, but you'll need to time the individual, like 3 minutes for each of the speakers. And obviously it's good if you have a sign or something like that. Or if you don't have one, just let us know like how you're going to be doing that. And yeah, at the end of each round, we'll hold our feedback until then. So yeah. Yeah, does anyone want to go first to introduce the method and facilitate the first circle? Sally, you're muted.
You're muted. Yeah. Who's in our group? Are we in the breakout room, right?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
This is the group that we're going to be with for the next hour and a half.
Rita and Edwin, who else?
Oh, are you on a phone? Can you see the rest of us? There's Maria and Mainak as well.
I haven't figured that out. I have a screen, but I still have an iPhone, and yeah.
If you're on your phone, you can swipe across and you should be able to see the other people, not just the person who's, yeah, you don't need to turn your video off. If you just swipe across, you should be able to see everyone.
See what happens next. Okay. Got it. Oh, okay.
Great.
Maria. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. It's good that you can see everyone now. Yeah, so who wants to go first as a facilitator? Anyone? Any brave soul out there?
Okay, I will go.
Maria, go ahead. Okay.
So, thank you for joining me in the Empathy Circle today. I'm going to be the facilitator. And just a quick description of the different roles within an Empathy Circle. There's going to be an active speaker. Am I doing this right? Just a quick check-in.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. There's going to be an active speaker, an active listener, a silent listener, and I will, in this Empathy Circle, I'm going to be the facilitator. So I will keep the time, and initially I'll start by being the first active listener and selecting my active speaker. And once the first round, first 5 minutes is complete, the active listener will select the next active active listener. Does that make sense? Okay. And so the different roles. When you're an active speaker, we're going to talk about whatever topic that we choose, or at any given time, whatever is alive within you. And you're going to have all 5 minutes to speak. And the active listener will be listening silently, but we're going to break up into segments and repeat back to you, the active speaker, what they heard. And they may ask for clarifications, but we're going to stick to repeating as close to and exactly as they expressed what they needed to speak. Does that make sense? And as an active listener, we want to be attentive and quiet, but also make sure that you pause or reflect back before you wait too long. So it doesn't get too complicated and you don't lose track of what's been said. And as an active speaker, once the listener has completed, you want to end by either letting the listener know that you feel fully heard, or if you haven't, continue. And as a facilitator, when your time is up, I'll raise my hand and give you kind of a cue that your time is coming to an end. And the silent listener will really not be doing much, but attentively listening through the process, because you're going to be taking part in future rounds. Okay. So I'm going to start by selecting my first active speaker, and I'll be the active listener. Minik, would you be the first active speaker?
Okay, sure. And you'd be my listener.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So like what's been on my mind recently is the act of redemption. So some things happened this week which I was really hoping for and didn't come through. And I was just thinking if there is space for us for redemption.
So I'm hearing that this week the concept of redemption has been on your mind, and you're wondering if there's room for redemption in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And so just to elaborate on that, so when I say if there's room, because so we tend to be distracted in this world and everyone is in their own journey, everyone is in their own world. And is there space to sort of sense and share or understand another person's journey? And if there is a sort of a process to facilitate redemption for others.
So I'm hearing that you're giving me clarification on what you mean by redemption. And you're wondering if there is an opportunity for us for redemption, but also to support someone else in their redemption.
Yes, that's correct. And it also happens. It could be why we don't have a space for redemption in this world is perhaps not just because everyone has a different journey and everyone's distracted, because some things can also be construed as mistakes in the eyes of others, while it may not be mistakes for the one who's committing the act, and it could be just something in the past. So if it's a mistake, in that sense, do we have the space to provide redemption?
So what I'm hearing is that your understanding of redemption may not be that someone is committing something as a bad act necessarily. It may be that they have made a mistake in their lives, and you're wondering if that were the case, is redemption really the option? And
right,
concern
so
for that person.
Yeah, just to rectify that part, it may not necessarily be a mistake, but it can be construed as a mistake. So the one who's committing the act, it may not be a mistake for him or her, but for the person perceiving it, it's possible it's a mistake. So if that is the case, for the perceiver, is it possible to provide redemption in that case when he or she construes the act as a mistake?
So what I'm hearing is that if clarifying the idea of a mistake in someone's sort of wrongful act, if that's correct, that they may have construed that as a mistake, but regardless, it is an act that you see as needing redemption. So is it possible?
That's correct. And I think I came to conclusion in my mind that I think the first step, or in fact the last step of this, is to be able to provide redemption for ourselves. So at the end of it, we may need to be we need to provide that safe space to ourselves, and if we can start doing that, maybe others may be able to change their perceptions as well.
So what you're saying is that if we're capable of providing space and safety in reaching our own redemption, that we may be able to provide others with the support they need in order for them to experience the same sort of redemption.
Yes, and if we can start with that, maybe it will encourage us to take the first step towards the direction, be more clear on what's to be done, and consider things as done for whatever was on your mind, and maybe start something anew.
I see. So you see the first step towards redemption for all is taking a step for our own individual redemption. And that act in itself will lead to others achieving redemption.
It will lead to redemption will happen in itself if the first step is for us to provide that space to happen. Clarifying on that, and the second part is that even if we are yearning for redemption from, I'll just conclude. So yearning for redemption from or the space from others, I think at the end of it too, we may need to provide the space for ourselves. So it could either be the first step or the last step, but I think it's a step for sure.
So regardless if it's the beginning or the end, that creating the space to opening to redemption is what we need to create in our lives for redemption to actually take place, creating that space and safety. Is that?
That's correct. Yes. Thank you. I feel heard. Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Okay. So am I the active listener now?
No, actually, I'm going to be the active speaker and I will select active listener. Okay. Sally? Would you mind being the active listener?
Sure. I'm ready. Go ahead. Go for it.
Okay. Oops. I'm sorry. Let me just get. All right. So, this week I made an effort to try to connect with my empathy buddy, and unfortunately I didn't get to connect, and I was feeling somewhat disappointed with the challenges of trying to connect. And sometimes when I experience the positive feelings of connecting with people through empathy circles, I struggle with the difficulties in the organizational aspect of connecting to someone to get to the empathy circle.
In your process of trying to seek your buddy, it seemed frustrating because of the technicality of the distance and that you never were able to, and well, you wanted to, and so you love the empathy circle, but the actual routine part of it is frustrating to you.
Yes. And as I facilitated and sort of requested my family members, people close to me, to join me in an empathy circle, I found that initially I thought that might be more challenging, but in the end I found that that was actually much easier, and the experience was extremely positive.
So because of the lack of contact with your empathy buddy, you took on the challenge of working with your family, and you thought it would be impossible or even just really a challenge to do, but it was surprisingly exciting for you.
Yes. And part of my interest in empathy circles is working with younger people, specifically actually teenagers. I think in society, they experience a lot of stress, and it's kind of a critical developmental stage. So I'm hoping that someday I could facilitate empathy circles for teenagers. And having to experience it with my son really was a exciting experience for me.
So you have forecasted for yourself in the near future of doing empathy circles with youth who are challenged today by lots of things, and so working with your son was in a way your first step, and you felt just a sense of closure to actually make that first step.
Yes. And it was an interesting feedback I got from my son and my boyfriend about the empathy circle, in that they actually kind of felt like it would be great if they could actually go to like social gatherings or parties and doing a 5-minute empathy circle to really connect with people, rather than sort of the small talk and awkwardness of social interaction could be kind of expedited through an empathy circle.
So you were pleasantly surprised by your boyfriend and son saying, or so excited about it that they would like to go to, sorry, a social gathering party and actually be able to do empathy circles instead of well, just to get people together.
Yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you, Sally. Now, Sally, would you like to select the active listener and you become the active speaker?
Yeah. Okay, Rita, would you like to be my active listener?
Yes, I'm listening.
Yes. Well, I had a wonderful experience with Larry, and he had decided to try out the facilitation role, instructional part, for half of the first and second calls this week, and he thought by the end of the second call that I had made some progress. And anyway, so it was really a great experience, and I have felt incredibly stressed out about taking on the explanation of what empathy circle means. It's, I don't know, for some reason I feel it's beyond me. Sorry.
I'll just repeat what I've heard so far. You found it really nourishing to connect with Larry twice in an empathy circle. And yeah, and you even got a chance to practice saying the method, which you found useful, even though you thought that that would be really difficult for you.
And it, yeah, finally I was really excited that I got to a place where I felt I could be a facilitator and much more confident. But it took quite a while to get there. And my comfort level did to correct itself.
So it was cutting out a bit there, but I heard that your comfort level and your confidence level has increased, yeah, in facilitating, or in the possibility of facilitating empathy cafes, even with just this one body call that you had with Larry and the practices that you did.
And I was able to visualize myself doing it with confidently, and so that is a step forward for me. I'm a really shy person.
Yeah, you feel like you're a really shy person sometimes, and so for you to be able to imagine that you can facilitate an empathy circle is, yeah, really confirming, and it felt good to make that step with Larry.
Yes, I feel fully heard. I have to plug in. I'm at less than 10%, and I won't be able to do a timer on this scale with the iPhone. I haven't, but anyway, I'm just gonna move into the house. It'll take. Okay, so I'm gonna.
Sorry. Yeah, we're going to pause now anyway to debrief for Maria, so you have some time. It's all good. Thank you, Sally. Great. So that was your 20 minutes. How was that for you, Maria?
I guess not having sort of, I really wanted like just graphic presentation of to cue me through the different roles. I did feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of you really wanted to have some notes.
Right.
Ready to go.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. What about the rest of the facilitating the circle, doing the timing and coordinating everyone?
Everything else, I felt fine. Of course, after we started, I noticed that Edwin wrote 3 to 4 minutes instead of 5 minutes. So that was another thing that I thought, oh, well, 3 minutes actually probably might be a good time for an initial empathy circle.
Yeah.
With inexperienced people.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Great. Yeah, it was really great that you just jumped in and went first. It's always a bit like, whoa, what am I actually doing? You know, so it's just good to, yeah, get in there, you know. Yeah, I really enjoyed that you were actually confident at and really well paced when you were sharing the method. Yeah, and you kind of checked in with your audience to see like whether people understood it. Like, you know, it's like you're a very relatable facilitator, you know, and you don't ignore people, you're attentive to their needs. So that's like, you know, really important and beautiful. I would just call it the speaker, not the active speaker. It's just the speaker,
right.
Because then people sort of get confused about which one you're talking about. So it's just the speaker. You did well at going first as the active listener. I would get the speaker to self-select first. So
Okay.
it's like who wants to go first, and you know, maybe if there's a silence for a very long time, then I go, hey, do you feel okay about it? So it gives people a bit more volition and consent in that process.
Okay, I was just wondering about that because that was something I had a quick question about.
Yeah.
Because I sometimes feel like when you've been the speaker, at least for the first time,
yeah,
to jump into the listening role immediately.
Yeah. So what happens is like the speaker,
the
first speaker just is the speaker, but then you're the first active listener, and then you did the right thing. Like when that round is finished, then you as the facilitator become the second speaker. So it's like you get to you know, role model both the active listener and the speaker for the whole group, which is really important. Because then you set a precedence for one, the most important skill that we're learning is active listening. So you set the groundwork for how to, for everyone, like to show everyone how to do that. And then two, when you're the speaker, you actually, you know, get the opportunity to model how vulnerably and authentically you can share in this circle. So, and then, yeah, so and then it goes round like that. So, yeah, you did really well in terms of the order of that. Yeah.
Okay.
I would also describe like a little bit more about the facilitator's role. You know, you said you would be timing. It's good to announce how long the time will be. Yeah, it's good to do a little bit shorter just for these rounds. Usually we do 5 minutes, but you can sort of choose, like, but because there's 5 of us, it's good to do 3 or 4 minutes in these rounds. Yeah, what else? Yeah, and I guess like sometimes it's good as the facilitator to like just announce that the other part of your role is just to kind of like hold space for the method, and also just to like, you know, invite some minor adjustments if people like forget, you know, to something about the method, basically, so that people feel a little bit more comfortable with like, what is this facilitator? Why are they there? What are they doing? Kind of thing. Yeah, I thought you were very attentive to, you know, as the active listener and like modeling that as well. So I think, yeah, I feel like you're very easeful and attentive like facilitator. So that was my main feedback. And I'm wondering if anyone else had anything. Edwin?
Yeah, I just had a quick thing. It depends on what the context of the group is. You know, if a group is really experienced, it's like you can jump right in. Being the first listener is sort of for a group that's not familiar with the practice, because you, like Rita was saying, you want to model it. And then also I try to set the context. So I try to have people have seen the how-to video beforehand, so they already have that. And there is this one page, you know, printout. You can print that out and give it to everyone, and then just sort of read through it. And then you have all the bullet points. It has everything except really the facilitator role. So those are just some kind of tips. Otherwise, you know, the listening was very good. You know, it just like was very grounded. I thought, you know, a really good listener. And the 3-minute turns is just because we only have 20 minutes. You only have 20 minutes. So by having 3-minute turns, you could get more experience with the transition. So that's why we did. Otherwise, we usually go for 2 hours and you have 5-minute turns. So those are just some kind of quick thoughts.
Just some quick comments would be great from you, Mainak and Sally. Like, how did the Maria's facilitation land for you? And do you have anything else to kind of add to our comments?
I thought you did a very good job, and it was very well and very efficiently. I just maybe an introduction to the beginning of the users is the only part that I thought, you know, just a couple, maybe a paragraph, just, you know, getting people in who may not know this method, you know.
Sally, can I recommend you put the phone on a hard surface so that it doesn't move? Because when the phone moves a lot, it uses a lot of bandwidth and it's hard to hear you. If it's solidly set, it'll use less bandwidth, or you can also turn off the video. It was really hard to hear you. I did hear you, but it was a little challenge.
It's just cutting in and out a bit as well. So yeah. Thanks, Sally, though, for your comments. Appreciate that. Mainak, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I think so. Maria wanted to say something, so I'll just let her.
Huh? Oh no, I just wanted to thank Sally for her comment.
No, so Maria's role was perfect. Like, so we've been doing this for a while. I think so. For me, it's my 4th circle, and it's like I think she replicated it exactly how we have been doing it in the past. So like as a general comment, I was more thinking about whether it makes sense to add a little more about the complexity or the depth of it, not just so yes, like so we do know, so there's this and so hopefully people have seen the videos before we facilitate this thing, and we know there's a speaker, listener, and this that, but just the sort of challenges that goes through it, so for them to be able to realize that and try to improve themselves to better rules. Should we do that, or let them ease themselves into it and realize it for themselves. That's what I'm thinking.
You want to know whether to talk about the challenges that might come up. Is that clear? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so I think it provides a better introduction to the roles, not just providing a nomenclature to the roles.
Yeah, I guess like give it a go. It's kind of nice for people to have their own experience. You did remind me that like I forgot to say like in the active, when you're describing the active listener, it's also good to give examples about what not to do. I'm not sure if you're referring to that, Mainak. Like, you know, when you're asking people to paraphrase and summarize in short what the speaker has said. And it's also useful to not add any judgments, opinions, or give any advice kind of thing. So I think you missed that out a bit. But we, you know, in the explanation, we kind of want to be minimal but clear so that people can have their own experience of the circle. And then, you know, as you go along in the transitions, if you need minor adjustments or people are not getting things, then you can sort of add but you know, add invitations. But we'll go into some more challenges next time. Oh, and one more thing about the listener. Sometimes people think that the silent listener is, yeah, specifically about the silent listener, that it's not an important role, but it actually is. You know, if so, I often like to introduce it in a way to say that it's about being very present when you're the silent listener, because it helps to hold the focus in the group. Because if you're the silent listener and you're being distracted and stuff like that, then the group will be more distracted too. So I would just say that the silent listener role is just as important as the active listener. Cool. Well, let's move on to the next person that wants to have a go. Yeah, who wants to go next, Mainak or Sally?
Why don't you just tell me if you can hear me?
Yep,
And
we can hear you.
really, 'cause
Yep.
I'm more than. Can you have Manak go? My cat is really loud.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. No worries. And Sally, if you're worried about timing, just get like your phone, like your clock watch or something at the moment. You can sort of just time like that through a wristwatch or a watch on the wall when it's your turn. You don't have to use your phone. Cool. Mainak, would you feel okay going next?
Yeah, sure. Like I'm happy to do it, but I really want to listen to Sally. I think she's doing it pretty well, the reflection part of it. But anyway, folks, welcome to this Empathy Circle. I am Mainak, your facilitator today. Uh, so in this circle, basically there are specific roles that all of us need to comply. So there is a speaker, there's an active listener, and there's a silent listener, and each of these roles have a specific procedure. The speaker is mainly expressing what's on his or her mind, or what's alive for him or her today, or there may be a specific topic that we all of us need decide to speak on. And I think it's okay if your thoughts are not fully formed, because it's a space where we are sharing our it's a safe space to share our vulnerabilities, and just the idea is to just express yourself freely. And at the end of this, and each of us get about 5 minutes to speak, and at the end of it, you may uh, convey if you feel heard, or if at times you may want to rectify uh, the other person when he or she reflects on what you say, well, you may feel free to do so. The active listener is someone who's uh, providing that active space to listen to you. He or she is completely fully aware and present for the moment. And it's not just paraphrasing what you're saying, but more sort of understanding, feeling, sensing what you're saying, and reflecting it back to you. The idea is to uh, really provide that understanding to that speaker. And the third role is the silent listener, and who is not in the act of reflecting to the speaker, but he or she is like aware at the moment. And I think the challenge is to really be present while you are not in the act. In your mind, you're reflecting as well, but sort of suppressing the need to be biased or or judging the speaker, but really sort of delving deep into understanding, feeling, and sharing what the other person is saying. So that's basically the summary of the three roles. And with this, I invite one of you to be the speaker, and he or he may she choose an active listener, and the other person basically automatically becomes the silent listener. So please volunteer yourself.
Oh, I just wanted to confirm that we're going to do 3-minute rounds, not 5
Yes,
minutes.
and as a facilitator, my role is not, so I'll be the timekeeper. So let's do a 3-4 minute round, each of us, and I'll cue you when the time is up. But I'm also sort of a coordinator to the method as well. So if there is something for me to sort of reflect on the method, I'll just interrupt and do it. So, but yeah. So with that, we can start.
I had a question. What is the topic we have?
Oops. Yes. Are we choosing a topic? Okay, so I'll like question.
We can just use the topic that Edwin gave us in the chat. What are your thoughts and concerns about an empathy, being an
Okay.
advocate?
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
well,
whatever is
I'll be the first list speaker then. Okay. Yes, okay. I'll speak to you. Oh, great. Yeah, so my thoughts and concerns about about being a facilitator. For me, it's always how do I listen more deeply? It's like, I can listen. Sometimes I listen really well. Other times I feel sort of detached, and so for me, it's really the question is I want to listen really deeply, and I want to kind of grow in that. So that's kind of one of my concerns or thoughts.
All right. So basically, you're expressing your concern in the act of participating in an empathy circle. One of the challenges is to like listen without being distracted.
Yeah, and not just did not be distracted, because I am distracted a lot because I'm doing the technical stuff. Like I'm keeping my eyes on the other groups, and so that sort of distracts, takes some attention. So that's one thing. The other, though, is I would like to be able to hear the person deeply with my full attention, and to hear deeply what they say, and to be able to kind of reflect that. And I have varying degrees of how well I do that. I want to be able to get better, kind of listen more deeply.
Right. So in this process, you tend to take the like overall coordinator position. So it's kind of challenging to be extremely focused in that sense to the circus that's happening, and to be able to build better focus is the challenge and what you are yearning for.
Yeah, it's to be able to listen to the person, to hear their feelings. What are they feeling? To when I hear somebody and reflect it back, when it has a sort of a beauty to the reflection, right? It's like it feels, there's a nice, I don't know how to describe it. It's like there's a depth to it, a beauty to the reflection, and a calmness to the reflection. I'm really trying to see how can I get better at that. So that's one of my questions.
Yeah. So what I hear is that there is a sort of beauty in sort of being able to not just listen deeply, but also reflect on the other person. So there is a reward in sort of being able to listen deeply and reflects, and you'd like to deeply immerse yourself into that.
Yeah, the word that comes, there's got to be love in it. It's got to be some kind of love. Maybe that's what it is. I got to connect to my love or something.
Yeah, so it's an expression of love. So it's a space where you can feel and share and love. So like it's definitely a reward. What I hear from you.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Your listening kind of let that kind of come up. So I appreciate it. Yeah, that was some gratitude for your listening. If you want to reflect that last part, yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, I missed that last part.
It was
so, yeah,
gratitude for your listening. So
okay, yes, gratitude for my listening. All right.
Yes,
So, and with that, it's 3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. I feel fully heard.
All right. Great. So, do you select the next speaker or someone else volunteers?
So now you become the speaker, because the active listener always becomes the speaker, and then you, the speaker, gets to choose an active listener.
All right. So Rita, would you be the next listener to me?
Yes, I'd be honored listening.
Yeah. I just set the. Yeah. So I'm feeling a little sense of vulnerability myself. Not just I'm not a very good extempore speaker myself, but also this whole new challenge of coordinating everything. So there's a sense of anxiety, but I am just going with the flow.
So you're just noticing that a part of you feels a bit nervous and vulnerable, being in the facilitator role and coordinating things. And another part is just going with the flow.
Yeah. Just to reflect on Edwin's comment on the process of sharing and feeling and the love and the beauty of it, I think that the space provides. And it's something that has happened to me for the times that I have participated in this, and it's just magical in that sense. To that happening repeatedly for each of these circles.
Yeah, so you were just reflecting that you were connecting with what Edwin was sharing, that these processes can be like quite magical for you at times.
Right, and it's definitely a challenge. Like I share the feeling of being distracted, and for the first times that I started. And I was the silent listener. Like it was so much easier to be distracted when you are an active listener. At first I tended to be doing my own thing, but then I really got into the process of it, and I understood it's just like the empathy is a muscle, and I need to practice into it. So I goaded myself into more active participation.
Yeah, so you notice that when you were the active listener, sometimes you see yourself being distracted, but you're really like noticing that you're honing this skill of being more focused when you're listening.
Yeah, and with that, I do feel a sense of improvement, because when I am sort of interacting outside this circle, and I have sensed myself to be a more than a better listener, so be better able to reflect what the other person is saying, and that really is like a stark improvement on my own listening skills as well.
You're noticing a lot of improvement as you practice this listening skill, basically. Yeah, it's becoming easier for you.
Yeah, so thanks, I feel heard. That's 3 minutes.
Okay, no worries. Thanks, Mona. Sally, will you listen to me?
Hi. One cat out the door. Sorry.
No worries. Are you all right to be my listener?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, thank
I
you.
know.
Great. There's so many things I could talk about in this question. Yeah, I'm just kind of like wondering what I really want to focus on. Yeah, I guess it was like, just really lovely to hear, Edwin's comments about like, being touched in like the moment when my Nuk was listening to him. And it was like interesting to sort of like notice or wonder like, how that appreciation, how we receive appreciation sometimes, like it can feel awkward, and I wondered if there was a feeling of awkwardness in receiving appreciation.
So you appreciated what Edwin was saying about my neck, and that you wanted to appreciate more, and express, or how he saw love and translated what my next emotions were.
I think it was more that Edwin was saying that he felt like that connecting to his love was important, and then when Mainak reflected that, Edwin, said that he was grateful for that reflection, and I noticed, or I noticed that maybe that was tricky for Mainak to receive that great gratitude. And then it made me remember that like at times, like it's like that for myself to receive a compliment or a gratitude about something that I did. So
I'm gonna kind of try to say this, that it's tricky to respond to love and gratitude, as I guess we got from Edwin, and that it is a challenge for you as well to be able to allow gratitude to be expressed to you.
I guess it's really more, the point is more that it's like hard to receive a compliment sometimes for myself.
So your point really is that it's hard, very hard to receive a compliment coming from someone.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Thank you, Sally. I think that was my time, and I feel heard. So thanks for reflecting for me.
Okay. Thank you so much. Well, I'm gonna go on, and this time I'm going to go with Maria as my listener, if that's okay.
I would love to listen.
Okay. And I'm gonna go on with the theme that, well, just in my case, nobody, no matter what, compliment me, because it'll go south immediately thereafter. I will. It's not a. I don't know. I just don't give me a fat head, because I'll immediately make a terrible mistake right after that. So, but anyway, my big challenge with empathy is that I'm judgmental. I tend to, instead of reflect, say what is on my mind, and that it doesn't follow the path of empathy circles. And I'm not saying I do that now, but originally I did it all the time, and it's taken a long time to undo that judgmental part.
So Sally, I heard that you sort of, based on what Rita was speaking on, that you're also not very good at receiving compliments, and you feel that compliments causes you to sometimes feel overinflated and make errors at times. So you feel a little bit of discomfort with receiving compliments. And as far as your concerns about being a facilitator for empathy circles, early on you felt that you were very judgmental and quick to speak what was on your mind. So it has taken you a long time and a lot of effort to become a better listener.
I would have to say I didn't understand that the point was to be non-judgmental in both nonviolent communication and empathy, and then it finally hit me. That's kind of it. I'm not
So
sure how much I have left.
I'm hearing that when you started with nonviolent communication, you didn't really understand that being empathetic and empathetic listening was supposed to be this experience that you're now experiencing through the empathy circles.
Okay. So yes. Aria, it's your turn. Oh, I feel completely hurt.
Thank you. Okay.
So I think we only have like 30 seconds in Minock's facilitation go, so we might pause there.
Okay.
Yeah, good one, Minock. How do you feel at facilitating that round?
I feel good. I started with a bit of overwhelm, but like I got over it, and I started enjoying it. In fact.
Yeah, cool. Great. Yeah, do you have any comments about what you feel like you did well and what you might want to improve or anything like that?
I think I feel good about like providing a bit more explanation at first about the different roles than what is normally stated, I think. But so, and at the end of it, during the receiving of the compliment, but so it was also a fact of being like the timekeeper and ending it. So I didn't understand it was a comment or it was part of the empathy button. But I'm also like I'm glad that Rita picked it up, but something which I wasn't aware myself. But when she picked it up, yes, that's right. Like she did understand that part of it, which I didn't understand myself. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, cool. I think you did really well, Minock. It is such a juggle at first to like be present and look at the time and be here, you know. So it's like, yeah, we're all just, but you know, like you said that you've been part of these circles a bunch of times, and it's always just, you know, like, yeah, doing the practice that helps us get better, obviously. So yeah, I would just comment that so your face in your video is sort of like here. You can just see the top of your chin. So I would kind of move your video down or your camera down so we can see your full face. Yeah, That's beautiful. Yeah, so it's good just to check what, especially when we're doing this stuff online, when it's going to be in person sometimes, obviously, but it's just a bit more relatable when we can see your whole face. So that's really good. Yeah, I think your explanations were pretty good. You did all 4 of them, even the facilitator one, so that was really cool. Yeah, I guess there's a nuance about the active listener. We really just asking people to do the simple part, which is about just reflecting and paraphrasing, summarizing what people have heard. You said that you've encouraged people to like reflect feelings and stuff like that. People can totally do that, I think, if that comes up, you know, or if they've got those skills. But really, in this method, we're just trying to get people to do the simplest thing, which is like paraphrase and summarize what they've heard. Sometimes I like to say explicitly that as an active listener, you don't need to repeat every single word someone has said. Really, just catch the bits that are important. Oh, Manak just left. Well, hopefully he'll come back. His internet must have just cut out. Yeah. And we just maybe wait for a few minutes and a few seconds. Maybe he'll come back and then we can continue. Yeah, does anyone need like a bio break or a stretch break while we're waiting?
Sure.
Yeah, maybe just let's take a 1 minute break and hopefully Manak will return if you need it. Have you done this training a few times, Maria?
No, this is my first time.
Oh, okay, nice. Cool. How did you hear about the circles?
Actually, I've tried NVC years ago, and I kind of broke off and did more of a self study rather than a community setting. The groups really weren't what I was looking for. And so I had been just kind of doing things on my own, self-work. And I was looking to find sort of this community and how to kind of expand what I've been working on for myself. And I just happened to come across, I think, some YouTube clips of Edwin doing empathy circles, and it just seemed like the right thing. And so I just kind of jumped on it.
Yeah, cool. Sounds like serendipity. I think my app's just coming back in now.
Great. How long have you been doing this?
I think I just met Edwin like over a year ago now. Yeah, one of my friends told me about empathy circles, and I just ran one of my own in person at first, and then I discovered the group. You know, so I was like, oh, okay, better, you know, like join forces with some other people. So yeah. Hi, Manak.
Oh.
You hear us, Manak? Maybe your audio isn't. I think he needs to join his audio, it looks like.
Oh, there it goes, connecting.
Hi, Manak. Good to have you back. Can you hear
Welcome
us?
back.
Yes, I can. Was I the only one?
Yes, just you. Must have been something in the connection. I'm glad you could join us again. Is it okay now?
Like that.
Oh.
Your connection's still a bit
Yes.
choppy, I think. Is it okay for you?
Yeah, but I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you plain and clear.
Okay, great. So I just had a few more points.
Maybe just one quick thing, Mike, if you make your phone stable somewhere so it doesn't move, it uses a lot of bandwidth when you try to hold it, and it'll kind of, your audio and everything should be better. Yeah, there you go.
Great. Cool. Can you still hear us? Are you there, Mina? Oh, I think it's a bit more choppy on your phone. Well, you can even try like turning off your video if that might help your bandwidth for a while until it settles back in. As long as you can hear us, okay.
I can hear you clear. Yes.
Okay, great. So it's just choppy for us. That's fine. Yeah, so really I just had one other tip about facilitating for you, which was, yeah, just to kind of like, this is sort of like a micro facilitation skill to just like pause and breathe, you know, between, especially when we're nervous, you know, just to really let what you've said sort of land for your participants. Yeah, and then because people sort of think at a different pace as well, and so that the pausing and breathing really helps as a facilitator as well as helping your participants understand you. So yeah, when you're giving an explanation, you can just do that to slow it down a bit more.
Understood.
Great. Does
Understood.
anyone else have any other comments? Sally, did you have something, or was that a no?
Well, I thought it was like beautiful prose, and it was either, I mean, it was even like you know, the pentameter kind of, it was beautiful the way you spoke, and it was easy to listen to, except for a beginner like me. Well, I appreciate the pauses, just like Rita said, and breathing, just to give the beginners the chance to fully hear, because I don't know, sometimes it gets confused and they don't fully understand how the procedure works. And if you just slow down a bit, that helps the beginners out and people that are still learning. But that's my take on it.
Thanks, Sally. Edwin or Maria, anything else to add?
Yeah, I appreciated how thorough he was and his explanations.
Yeah, cool.
I would say one thing that I do sometimes, if I do feel anxious, you're saying, I think you felt anxious. When it's your turn to speak, or when it's my turn, I'll say, oh, I feel a little anxious here, and then get a reflection on it, and it kind of calms me down. So just to say how I'm really feeling and get a reflection on that.
Yeah, that's definitely good modeling as a facilitator, to just be authentic. And I feel like you do that really well in a lot of occasions, Minak. You're really good at just saying how you are. So cool. Well, yeah, did you want to say something else, Maria?
Thanks.
Oh, I think that was, thank you, Minak.
Okay, great. Sally, did you want to have a go facilitating next? How do you?
Sure. Let's hope I don't see a lot of or yeah, what I meant to say is iambic pentameter. It was just beautiful. So
your 20 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna start when you have an empathy circle, first you meet in the big group and people kind of greet each other, and then it gets broken into these groups, and a group can vary from 2 to 7 people. Usually 4 or 5 people is an ideal breakdown group. Or so from there, the empathy circle begins with the facilitator. And so I'm just going to explain as the facilitator what the procedure is in the breakup groups. And it starts, the facilitator is the timer and also is the active listener. And I can pick a speaker, or there can be a volunteer speaker in the beginning, and that volunteer speaker will start, and we'll have 3 to 5 minutes. There are 2 silent listeners who are also actively listening and attentive to what is being said. The speaker will be talking either about a topic that has been presented in the main room, or can also talk about something that is on their mind and they need to talk about at that moment. That is also accepted. And then the active listener will respond by reflecting non-judgmentally on what the speaker says. The speaker will talk in maybe just a paragraph at a time, so that it's not too complex for the active listener to respond to. And over the course of the 3 minutes, there are confirmations by the speaker that the listener understands or comprehends, and is following what the speaker is saying. At the end of the 3 minutes, the alarm will ring, and there will be some final either corrections or clarifications, and in order to make everything fully understood. And then the active listener then switches roles into the active speaker, and will switch and choose someone to be their next active listener. Then the timing occurs again, and this goes around so that everyone is has gone through the first time in a cycle. And after the first cycle is done, you can pick your active listener at random, and there might be an hour chosen for the time period for the empathy circle meeting. And at the end, you go back from the breakout rooms to the main session, and then people can talk about their experiences in the breakout rooms, and what they learned, and if there's anything they can share with the group about learning. Did I miss anything? That's okay. Okay. So then I guess people would comment, and if you have anything to say, I'm just gonna go on mute right now.
Well, shall we just start a circle now? I think if you want to continue facilitating, yeah, a few rounds. You're still on mute, sorry. There we go.
My timing isn't coming up. So I don't know if you mind, but I don't have a second hand on my clock, and it's over there. So it would someone else do that? Okay. So I am going to, as the facilitator, choose Rita as the speaker, and he's gonna speak. Is there any volunteers for a listener? I'll just go ahead and be the active listener.
Great,
Okay,
thank
go.
you. Yeah. Maybe you can, Maria, just let us know when the timing is up by giving us a sign or something. Yeah, we don't have to look at it. What are my thoughts and concerns about being an empathy circle facilitator? I guess at the moment with this circle, series that I'm doing on deep adaptation, it's going to be once a month in real life at a venue, and I'm hoping I have capacity to accept like 30 people, but really like it's not the facilitation that I'm kind of challenged by, it's more the gathering of the people. You know, it's like, yeah, wondering how to get the message across and out about these circles and what would inspire people to come along, basically.
Okay, you are facilitating a group of 30 people, and you're not really worried as much about the facilitation as much as getting the word out to get as many people participating. I think you called it deep I didn't hear the last part. Deep adaptations, or I'm not sure. But anyway, you want to get the word out to people in your community to participate in your once a month endeavor empathy program.
I think Rita might be frozen.
Looks like she dropped out. Do you want to continue with, she was fully heard? If you want to continue, select someone. Sally, you continue.
Sure. Why don't we come back? Okay. Who wants to be? Okay. Mintek. Why don't you go ahead and be the speaker, and then we'll go back and talk to Rita.
You were the listener, so you become the speaker, and you would speak to Minek if you.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking that we would go back. But okay. I'll be the speaker.
Oh, there's Rita. Minek, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, it's Minek.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm sorry, it's really choppy for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really choppy for me. I think I was given the listeners role, but I think it's really challenging for me right now.
Okay.
Oh, here's Rita.
Rita's back though.
Yeah, sorry, I dropped out. The internet cut out here.
Can we
I'm on my
just start
phone.
again for the...
Yep. Did you go on to someone else or?
We are going back to you. we're just starting the timing at the point where you were.
Okay. Yeah, right. Sorry about that. So we've got 10 minutes, but yeah, let's just continue with one more round. Yeah, so I guess I was saying that, yeah, really for me it's about yeah, wondering how to get the people inspired so that I do have 30 participants along for an empathy cafe.
So you are trying to figure out exactly how you're gonna get the excitement and to get 30 people involved in your empathy cafe.
Yeah, because I have facilitators that are ready to facilitate. Yeah, it's just that, yeah, I'm doing this series on deep adaptation and eco-resilience. And so I know that there are people out there that are excited about talking about that topic, and also sometimes it's a bit invisible.
So you know that there's people out there that are excited about talking about their topic, and so you just want to get it out there. You have a number of facilitators ready to go for your within your team for the
Yeah.
empathy. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. I do feel heard. So
Didn't
we've got time for one more round.
How about well, we had Minak. Was I gonna speak to Minak? I guess so. I don't really.
He's having internet problems, so you probably would want to choose me or Maria.
Okay, Edmund, I don't think you've had a lot, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do something. Can we just do 2 minutes? So we can make sure everyone gets in there. Okay, so Maria, could you time it? Okay. So anyway, I yeah, have a lot of interference that is, you know, related to my computer. I'm still working out the glitches as far as being 40 feet away from my internet. But I have kind of gotten inspired about working with a community in Africa and getting a woman's group to begin an empathy circle, and I'm just a bit nervous.
Okay, so I'm hearing either some kind of technical challenges that you're having that you're kind of working on, and you're also excited about working with some group in Africa doing empathy circles with women, but you're also feeling nervous about it too, as well.
I'm just afraid I'm gonna get rejected and they're not gonna believe I'm credible.
Mm-hmm. So it's like a real concern that they're not going to see you as credible and then just reject you.
And you probably will, but okay. So I'm being judgmental of myself. So I feel fully heard. Does anyone?
Okay. So I'm hearing that you're feeling a little self-judgmental about what your thoughts, and you feel fully heard.
Yes. Okay, Edwin, do you want to take over things?
Okay, I think we just got 4 minutes for a debrief, huh?
We've got 4 minutes, and I'm just connecting with my computer. So if I come in, then I won't join audios. Yeah, so sorry that was a shorter, segment for you, Sally, but how did it feel as you were giving the intro and like facilitating?
Well, I didn't get any comments, but we just were really short on time. but I'm getting better and I'm feeling more confident. And just moving in the direction of actually doing it. And so that's where that's at.
Great. Cool. Does anyone want to give any feedback to Sally? What was it like with her facilitating, and yeah, what worked, what could be improved?
I'll comment. I've known Sally for a while now in different empathy circles, and I see her growth. So I'm really glad to see that. And you keep plugging away, and I see you keep improving. So I think it's just practice makes perfect. Just keeping at it. So I see real improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds good to hear that, like you were nervous about facilitating, and that, you're shifting this perspective on yourself, like noticing when you're judging yourself, and that, you're practicing being more kind. That's like such a big part of the facilitation process. So I really appreciated you just jumping in there and giving it a go, and even like, coordinating with all our tech challenges. Is you got a tricky round there, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for sticking with it.
I did have another comment. In terms of the empathy circle is different from the empathy cafe. So you're sort of mixing the empathy circle and the empathy cafe. So the cafe is any number of people, they come together and they break out. What we're doing here is only the empathy circle. So it's just, hey, there's 5 of us here, we're friends, and then how would you hold an empathy circle with just a few friends? We're not really doing the whole empathy cafe part here.
I guess
Yeah,
I could distinguish between the two real briefly. I'm still kind of growing.
Yeah, it feels like you're feeling your way into it, and sometimes when we sort of role play this, it's like, where am I starting from, kind of thing. So but next week when you get to practice the how-to method again, I totally echo Edwin. Just focus on the circle. Like, it's really beautiful when people are clear, and you just go, these are the 4 roles: active listener, speaker, silent listener, and facilitator, and then spend like a minute or less, half a minute, like explaining each of those really like succinctly. So you need some more practice with your empathy buddy on that to get more confident. Like, that's a good space to do it as well. Yeah. Does anyone have any other comments? Maria?
I really appreciated, I really felt that Sally is sincere in facilitating that group. And I really did appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. That's a big part of being a facilitator, to be authentic with where you're at. And it's important to role model that, especially for people who are not used to kind of speaking about themselves so clearly and authentically. So that's really great. So I think people are going to come back into the group. Yeah, thanks.
You've multiplied.
There's 2 of me now.
We've got about 30 seconds, everybody will be coming back.
Okay.
Mina, do you have any comments about my explanation as a facilitator?
Yeah, yes, Sally, I did put it on a chat, but perhaps it didn't go through. But I think it was a really well-rounded explanation. I realize I missed out on a few things which you did well, and the fact that you kept it slow, perhaps that helped in being comprehensive. So I liked how you explained the whole circle and moderated it.
Hi.
Thank
So
you.
welcome back. I'm sure it was a very refreshing experience for all of us, and it's great to see all of you back here. So what we can do now is, how about each of us take 1 minute to share your experience and insights from today, right? How was the experience? How has it changed? Or, your feelings about facilitation, right? And what strengths did you notice about yourself? And what areas do you see potential challenges? And what do you think you work on and improve on, right? So just for it to be quick, I'll call on people, right? And then I just remind you once again that it's 1 minute, right? So that everybody gets the turn to speak before our time for today ends, right? Yeah, so, so let's see. Sally, could you start?
Each time I'm getting a little more confident and moving towards my goal. I really want to do this with a group from Kenya. And anyway, I just want it to happen and be successful.
All right, thank you, Sally. Maria?
I think it was a little nerve-wracking, sort of facilitating with strangers for the first time, in all honesty. But I think I really do appreciate the opportunity to be able to practice this, because really trying to just recruit strangers to practice it is really daunting. So having the opportunity and a community that were kind of on the same page doing this was pretty awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Maria. Jen, would you like to go next?
Sure. It was a good experience. I was a little bit nervous, but it was reflected to me that I didn't seem nervous, so I appreciate that. Let's see. I think that I was really able to acknowledge my concerns, and can already feel that they're kind of like dissipating, so that's good. In terms of strengths, I think, I've always been told that I appear like that I'm a calm person, even though I don't always feel calm inside. So I think, getting the inner experience to kind of align with the outer experience is going to be really good, for me. Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for that. Mona?
I really appreciated the opportunity to practice, because I'm always worried about how I can introduce it with my English. Like, it was very terrifying for me, but when I did it, I feel like more comfortable doing it. And something I need to change is concentrate of what I need to say before I say it. Like, I need to prepare myself better before I get to it.
Thank you so much, Mona. Anu, would you like to go next?
Yeah, thanks, Rasha. And thank you so much for creating this opportunity, making this experience possible for us. I really enjoyed it. And it has only strengthened my feelings in a positive way. It has strengthened my desire to facilitate empathy circles in future. The strengths that I noticed about myself is my desire to set clarity, and to make people understand, how do we go about it. And that's where the potential challenge also is, where you have clarity is where sometimes you exceed the time. So I have a tendency to kind of repeating. Yeah. And that's what I learned. Yeah. So that's where I would want to structure myself more. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Faustina, would you like to go?
Sure. My experience was very interesting. Um, I was very nervous and I was very anxious about this, and just speaking in general scares me. But it was so interesting how all of my group mates kind of did their own thing. I mean, everyone was very different in their own way, and yet each facilitator um, created such a positive experience that I found myself, instead of comparing, I was just appreciating that everyone has their own style, and it gave me confidence. And I think I was also pretty surprised at how confident I was able to be at some parts. There was this interesting moment that happened towards the end where we eventually discussed it, and turns out everyone made this very conscious decision, and it was so interesting to hear everyone's thought process. And yeah, it kind of reassured me in that sense that everyone has their own different approach, and but we can still all have a positive time. So, yeah.
Thank you, Faustina. Kang, would you like to go?
So I learned today about the importance of preparation and practice best practices, and also to slow down. And I guess my strength has been to create a sense of safety and openness. But my challenge would be like that, to prepare and to slow down, just to make sure that other people can catch up with the various points of the structure.
Thank you. Larry?
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you, Jaya, Leona, Keisha. Thank you for holding such a warm, empathic heart space for everyone to practice in. And like Maria was saying, it's wonderful to be able to practice this in such a warm group. It's not easy to find this group out in the world. And surprisingly, they never hit me with a bamboo stick, not even once. They were all just loving. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you so much. Payal?
Yeah. So I enjoyed the process of being on the other side, and both sides actually. I was left, and I was taking some of my notes. I was left with two questions which didn't come to me in the room, but I'm sharing it here. One of them we discussed is, what if at the closure of one, at the end, when the listener asks, do you feel fully heard? And does the speaker say yes, no? So hopefully the speaker is able to say a no. But then do we spend that time with the listener to say, why did the person say no? I don't know where is the space for that yet. But I was just wondering that when I get to know somebody's told me no, first of all, it's very awkward for me. The other person needs to have the courage to say that. And then where is the space for me to know how can I listen better? I was just wondering in the scheme of it where that was. So that was the thought that I just got right now. So thank you, Mona, Kang, and Rasha. I did enjoy new learning at every facilitator space.
Thank you, Payal. Thank you so much. We'll get to the questions in a bit, right? So Jaya, would you like to go next?
I think one of the strengths I noticed about myself when I was in the empathy circle with Larry, Keisha and Leona, is introducing myself formally as a facilitator in the role. That was something I thought is my strength. And the other thing is also clarifying the roles where each one is. That was a strength I brought to the group. And the challenges I faced is with time. How do I hold the role and manage time? That was a challenge for me. So that's one challenge that I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaya. Kesha?
So I would start by saying thank you to my group, Jaya, Larry, and Leona. I really felt included. I really felt connected. And there were certain, so I learned from each of the facilitators, and there were certain things that I felt that I couldn't do, but I was able to do while I was facilitating. So I'm really happy about it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Kesha. Priyanka, let's hear from you.
I really enjoyed my group. Most of them came across as very seasoned facilitators, and I actually got to learn a lot from them about how, like, I had this idea about, okay, this is how I should interrupt someone if somebody is speaking, but then I heard a different viewpoint. And so that was really interesting for me to see how you can facilitate the same situation in a different way, and that works for everyone. So that was really interesting to see today. Thank you.
Leona?
I loved the warmth of our group and how we played together, and I've stolen some fabulous things they said as part of their introduction. So I love learning in the room as well. So I'm very grateful for that. Yeah, I learned some new ways of phrasing things, which is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Leona. Rita, would you like to go?
Yep. Yeah, I think everyone in our group did really well. You know, like they expressed they had some nerves about facilitating, and sometimes that's just, you know, that's what happens when we're just learning a new skill and trying to remember all the pieces and everything. But yeah, people gave their own explanations in different ways. And yeah, I think it was like, yeah, really great just to jump in there and yeah, give it a go. So thanks to my crew.
Thank you, Rita. So for me, it was beautiful. I loved the conversations that were happening in the group today. I was, for a change, not involved in the conversations. I was just observing and taking notes, and I loved to see how the facilitation was being implemented. It was beautiful, and I think everybody did really great. And I also learned some new things. It's always there, right? And some very interesting questions came up as well. So yeah, I loved the sessions. It was there was a lot of warmth again, and a lot of openness that I saw in the group. So yeah, thank you. And Edwin?
Oh, just a quick debrief. Yeah, I was more of an observer because I was kind of doing the technical stuff, so I wasn't a facilitator or a participant. But I did participate. But and a question that came up for me is, how do I listen more deeply? And then somehow, just the way I was heard, it just kind of came up to me. I said, it's really about listening with love. So I thought, well, you really have to sit with a sense of love for the person. And I'd mentioned in a different group that empathy circles are like microdosing love. If you know the term microdosing, it's like little bits of a drug or something. So anyway, I was just sitting with that just kind of holding that. So yeah, so thanks. And I think it's Rita, right? It's taking next.
Yeah, thanks everyone for that. So yeah, I just wanted to make some space to answer questions that came up. I actually want to ask Leona if you could, or Edwin, to answer Payel's question, because I missed half of that. It was something around you thought. Payel, can you repeat your question that you had?
Yeah, my question was that while we were talking in our group, we just became aware that what if somebody, when we asked them that did you feel fully heard, and one, does it allow for somebody to say no? I'm assuming it does, but once a person says no, where is the space for me? Suppose I'm the person who was the listener and gets the speaker to say, no, I didn't feel you heard me fully. Where is the space for me to know what could I do or what did I not do, which makes you feel that? Is there that space?
Yeah.
So that is my question.
Yeah. So
Or
I
how
guess
do we
like,
deal with it?
yeah, I guess there's two things about that. One is often it's useful to ask an open question rather than a closed question. So a closed question is like, yeah, did I get that right? Yes or no? You know, it's like a closed question always has a yes or a no answer and can be, yeah, people find it hard to say no sometimes. So it's good to find an open way of asking that question. And I'm not sure if I've thought of the best way for that yet. Maybe other people can comment on that. But the other thing is, I think as these circles sort of unfold, people kind of warm up to really being authentic about their experience, and I think we can't force that. So if someone is saying, yeah, I feel heard, and they actually mean, no, they don't feel heard, then in a way we can't like, you know, force someone to be comfortable with saying that, no, they don't feel heard. We can only model that as the active listener and as the speaker. You know, if you're the facilitator modeling the speaker role and you correct your listener, and you say, actually, that's not quite what I meant this, then it models that it's okay to do that. And then hopefully with your open facilitation like that, your participants will feel more and more comfortable to be authentic as well and to reflect on more deeply about whether they feel heard or not. So yeah, does anyone want to add another comment about that, Luna or Edwin?
What I heard there was that they've spoken, and then the person reflects back and they say, I don't feel fully heard, you know, and then it's at that point, it's just up to the speaker to say it again. It's like, as a listener, you can say, oh, I hear you don't feel fully heard. Is that right? And then the speaker can just say it again, maybe in other words. And then you give it another try until the speaker feels heard to their satisfaction. I don't know if I was maybe not understanding the question. Leona, I see you unmuted. So do you have something?
Yeah, I think the challenge point that Pao may be referring to is when you get to the end of the 5 minutes and then the speaker says, yeah, no, I didn't feel heard, actually. That's an awkward place for both possibly the speaker and the listener, who may wonder what they could have done differently. And so as a facilitator, you have a choice point. You can step in and say, it would be wonderful when you speak next to share when do you feel fully heard? What kinds of listening help you feel fully heard? Is it more silence? Is it less words? And you might chuck a couple of ideas in. If they seem to be in a level of distress that they might not be able to hold for 10 or 15 minutes, you could say, let's just have 2 minutes, just a couple, and put a time on it to just hear what would help the next listener who listens to you know how to listen in a way that supports you. And again, offer a couple of suggestions: more silence, less words, or use my words, and then give them that 2 minutes. So just sensing, can they hold this and then offer it in next time, or do you need to give them a couple of minutes to have it said? Then all the listeners are learning, oh yeah, people all like to be heard in different ways, right? Yeah. I don't know if that helps, Payal.
Thank you. I think I take perspectives from all three of you, and that's very helpful. So it shows me some possibilities.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Payal, one more thing that I would like to add is about how, as a facilitator, I think you have the choice to let the group figure it out for itself, right? So as a facilitator, you're seeing the circle go, and sometimes you feel like somebody does not feel heard, right? But they're not really mentioning it, right? Just let the circle go on to see whether they kind of figure it out naturally on their own. If not, if it's a recurring theme, it keeps happening, then it would be a good idea for you to maybe just interject and like Leona said, maybe suggestions or something of that sort. And if I were the facilitator, I would also possibly, if it's that big a problem, then I might outside of the group as well maybe just have a communication so that the person learns, or it's gets better at listening. So maybe a conversation outside of the circle about how what you felt and how the person could improve listening would also be an idea, something, just a suggestion that I have. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. A lot of thoughts and possibilities show up just listening to all what you have shared. Thank you, everyone.
No worries.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to check in with the trainees and Leona and Edwin. Did either of you had any other comments or like other questions that came up that you wanted to respond to?
Another question that I remember that Pyle brought up was about, she felt that the empathy circles process, does it get a little too mechanical? Because, when we're just reflecting, paraphrasing exactly what we heard, because she felt that, when you just paraphrase or reflect back exactly as is, then we're not able to capture the emotions that come with it, right? So that was one question. So she felt like, how do you actually make emotions, the emotions that are being expressed by the person non-verbally, how do you also make that a part of the reflection kind of a thing? So I did suggest, like, or what I felt for that is that I feel when you're reflecting as, a listener is reflecting, then it's good to kind of, speak in terms of that emotion as well. Like if a person seems very excited about something, so I feel you're very excited, even though he didn't mention the word excited, I might just interject that word into my reflection. So I thought that would be a good way to kind of capture it. And I feel at the end of it, the purpose is for the speaker to feel heard, right? And as long as that is met, I think it's good to kind of capture the emotions. But I also wanted to know what the other trainers and and Edwin also had in mind regarding this question. Yeah.
Yeah, Edwin, do you want to say something about that?
It's sort of you sort of feel your way along. We don't want to like force, the having to say the feelings and needs and that. We're trying to make it very accessible for anyone to take part, and there, you can go in, and some people just naturally can sense the deeper feelings, and you have to sort of sense your way along there to, and again, I think as you said, I always ground it in, does the person feel heard to their satisfaction? And then you're always growing, you're always learning. Like my question was, how do I listen even better? I'm trying to like figure out, how do I literally listen better? So it's like a lifelong, learning this. So that's where I am at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I like to look at it as like, different levels. So we're trying to introduce this as like the most simplest basic skill. So it's like, first of all, you just focus on the words at a mental level and reflect and summarize that. I often say that the active listener doesn't have to say every single word that they heard, because then it sounds a bit like parroting. It's really just picking up the main points, but then when you've like gotten used to that, it's like, sometimes like in reflections, people have said, yeah, I can see that brings you a lot of joy, and when you say that, because they were laughing, kind of thing. So in those cases, it's like you're using your emotional and intuitive body to verbalize something that you've experienced in the other person, so then it goes to another level.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with all of that, and just be careful not, like, I know in MVC we guess people's feelings and needs, and if you're good at that, it's fantastic, but it's really difficult for people when they say, are you feeling ... and needing, and it's so far off base, it disrupts the relationship. And you're like, really? How did you get that one from me? Particularly if we're on Zoom and you're not feeling, sitting in a room, you can get a lot more information. You get a resonance that you don't necessarily get in a little pixel screen. So you can definitely, if you feel confident, guess at a feeling. And I'm wondering, use guessing language. I'm wondering if you're feeling, joy from that, or from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're feeling joy. Is that close to the mark? And be really just offering something, but showing you're willing to be corrected. And it gives people a gift of permission to say, actually, it's closer to delight. Joy is close, but it's actually delight I'm feeling. And so you're supporting people. But like Rita says, in the beginning, when we're paraphrasing, just capturing the things that really feel sort of holding the emotional content, even though you're paraphrasing content. And if people speak a long time, if you do the first and last and then say something like, I sense there was something I missed in this, I just want to, if you want to share that again, if you missed something, if they've done a long, just own, oh yeah, I didn't get it all, but if there's something you want to reshare. Hope that helps.
Yeah, I just want to say something. Sorry if I interrupted, but it's like when on Zoom, we don't have like the whole picture. Like I feel sad, my voice is deep and sad, but I'm happy to be there, but I'm sad from something else. So maybe I'm talking about something happy, but in this point, my reaction is not happy. So maybe I can catch the wrong feeling.
And talking about feelings, sometimes can be really edgy if someone hasn't named it themselves. So you can experiment with it, but really, like, the purpose of the Empathy Cafe is just to bring it back to the most basic, simplest form of empathic reflecting. And so there are more nuanced skills to go into, like, reflecting feelings and needs, even if we think, oh, that's really easy, I can do that. But the way we humans respond to that is like, it can be like, it can actually be disconnected if you don't do it in a sensitive way and stuff. And so that's why when you're facilitating an empathy circle, the method that we teach is just empathic listening. And if other people, bring in or learn from each other different nuanced ways of acknowledging the feelings, because someone has just laughed or someone feels a bit sad or whatever, then you can pick that up along the way. And obviously, like in real life, or when you're practicing with an empathy buddy or something, and it's more of a casual conversation, it's, you're going to maybe morph between your conversation and reflecting and then giving an opinion sometimes. So that's sort of like another realm of like taking it out into the real world. But here in the circle, it's just about focusing on the empathic reflecting.
I do want to keep us on time if we don't go too much over. We're right at that end
definitely.
Here.
Right.
I just want to thank you all for your perspectives. It's very helpful.
Yeah. We often try and leave a bit more time for questions, and we know that there's a lot sometimes. So but the feedback form really helps us address the questions. So I'm just going to post that, the link, so that when you leave, maybe we'd love you to go to that feedback form and fill it out. Last time we had, I think, about 6 people or 8 people or something like that fill it out. So just really go to that, have a list all your questions in that form, and then we can really address them more promptly at the beginning of the next session. So in the next session, it will be session 3. I just want to point out that there's some time zone changes, like daylight savings is starting or ending somewhere in the world. So just make sure you check your emails and make sure you turn up at the right time. And next session will be, you'll be able to practice the how-to method again, as well as like ask for your first level of challenge in your group. We'll talk about what the challenges can be, and Edwin will send around an email about the document that he has about what kind of challenges can arise in an empathy circle. And we'll talk more about that next time. Yeah, in terms of your home play, I like to call it home play exercises. Between now and next time, you're going to receive another empathy buddy, a different one. Feel free to meet with the one that you met with last time as well, but you're going to be assigned a new one. So do that empathy buddy call however you can, experiment in different ways. Sometimes I like to request like a 15-minute chunk just to be the speaker, and then, you know, give the other person 15 minutes as well to be the speaker, and then exchange like that. But you can really do it like we do it in an empathy circle. And also, yeah, keep facilitating those empathy circles actually with like groups of your friends or your family members, and just see how that goes. Let me see, have I missed anything? So there's also, I just wanted to kind of put this on your radar that there's going to be another cohort that starts straight after this one. So we're kind of doing them in a series now. So in this time zone, there'll be another cohort that starts in like 3 or 4 weeks time when this one has ended. So if you think that you might want to come again, or you have friends that might want to sign up, then the link is there in the chat, and I think Edwin will send that around, and you can start signing up for participating in another cohort. Have I covered everything? Does anyone want to add anything else?
Just write your one value that was sort of met, feeling value that or need that was met in the group today, and trust. See that?
So joy, support, love, learning, sharing, connection, safety, and growth. Great, thank you.
Jazz hands
yeah,
going off. Until next
this
week.
is a bit of a celebration. Thank you for being here. Thanks for showing up and yeah, learning with us and being part of this community. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye
Good night,
now.
everyone.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Oh, I think, Edwin, you're going to have to put Sally
Yep.
into the room.
Close that.
Oh, recording? Can you stop the
Oh,
recording?
right. Thanks.